It's one of our greatest fears. Being on a plane when something goes badly wrong. This series reveals what it's like to live through catastrophic events on board an aircraft.
I just had visions of being burnt alive on this plane.
Using footage that captured these terrifying moments. And hearing from those who survived them.
Everyone looked tense in their seats. It felt like this could be their final moments of their lives.
I looked out to see some of the engine flying off.
At that point, I planned to meet my maker.
These are the world's worst flights.
All right, we're gonna land field right here.
Every day, 11 million people travel by plane. And in the next 20 years, passenger numbers are expected to double. But transporting this vast number of people can lead to no end of problems in the cabin. And when things go wrong in a plane, there's no easy escape. In this episode, a SWAT team storm a holiday flight.
Yeah, you're scared. Is somebody going to make a mistake? Are they going to shoot at this person?
Get down the back! Get down!
A passenger refuses to give up his seat, with dire consequences.
Did this really happen? And what's going to happen next?
Oh my God! Look at what you did here!
And a medical emergency over the Pacific Ocean.
They were asking for disinfectant. They were asking for scissors.
Every year, more and more of us are choosing to fly. And aircraft are now bigger than ever before. The world's largest passenger plane, the Airbus A380, can seat over 800 people. But it only takes one passenger to put an entire plane in danger. In July 2014, 183 passengers boarded Sunwing Flight 772 in Toronto. Their destination was Panama City, and the flight was due to take 5.5 hours. On board as a passenger was retired pilot Bettina Bathe.
I was excited to board the plane to go to Panama. And the weather was great. It was the end of July, nice summer day.
Shortly after takeoff, in the row behind Bettina, a passenger began to get agitated.
This person was very concerning to me. He was speaking very loudly. He was very rude to his girlfriend. He was already throwing things around, the emergency pamphlet, ripping it up. Kept being aggressive. He was very, very agitated. And this was going to be a very long flight. Sitting at the window seat, you do feel cornered in, and you do feel, what is next?
A flight attendant then offered the passenger a set of headphones.
And he completely avoided the question and started focusing on his cigarettes he just bought in duty-free, and how upset he was that he had to pay taxes. If it's duty-free, why is he paying taxes? And then he just said, I want to bomb Canada. My whole body just went into shock.
The plane was now at its cruising altitude of 36,000 feet.
Somebody that has those thoughts, they usually follow through. I was trying to figure out, is it on the aircraft already? Is it on him? Well, the biggest fear is you never see your family again. Is this the end? The worst case scenario is that he did have a bomb.
45 minutes into the flight, as the plane was over the American state of West Virginia, it made a 180-degree turn and headed back to Toronto.
They did not announce the whole situation of why we're turning back. I knew, and the flight crew knew, but I don't think any of the other passengers knew.
With passengers' lives at risk, a strict security procedure was set in motion.
So I heard some people oohing and eyeing. I looked out the window to my right, and off the wingtip of the aircraft was a fighter jet pilot.
2 fighter jets had been scrambled from Ohio to escort the plane out of US airspace.
When you do see them off the wingtip, you know that's very serious.
It's beyond emergency at that point. It is the highest distress possible if you're being intercepted. That is pretty much the government telling you, you cannot fly any further, you need to follow us.
You know, if anything should go on, they will shoot you down.
Just before 9 a.m., 2 hours after takeoff, the plane landed back in Toronto. As it came to a halt on the tarmac, a Canadian news helicopter began filming.
They brought us to a different part of the tarmac. So I think a lot of people were kind of like, well, why are we not going to the terminal?
Suddenly, passengers heard movement outside the plane's front exit.
That's when there was a lot of
In July 2014, Flight Sunwing 772 had made an emergency landing after a passenger made a bomb threat. Hearing movement outside the plane's front exit, a passenger began filming.
Hands down, hands up! Hands up! Hands down, hands up! Hands down, hands up! Hands down, hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Hands down, hands up! Hands down, hands up! Hands down, hands up!
On board the flight was passenger Bettina Bathe.
Keep your hands up! Heads down! Heads down! Heads down! Get down in the back! Get down! Heads down! Keep your hands up!
when you see the guns and you hear a lot of yelling and screaming from them, you're numb.
The man who had made the bomb threat was sitting directly behind Bettina. So she knew that as the SWAT team approached, she could be in the line of fire.
Yeah, you're scared. Is somebody going to make a mistake? Are they going to shoot at this person? So your adrenaline is rushing and you're praying, get this person off so you can get away from me and they can get away from me.
But some on board couldn't understand the instructions.
Hands down. Hands down.
Down.
And most of the passengers had no idea why the SWAT team was there.
Get down the back! Get down!
As they handcuffed their target, another passenger captured his reaction.
I remember him making those noises. Wow. That does really upset me, you know, because it's very extreme. And I feel for him. You know, I remember him now making those noises. I don't know if it's because they clamped his wrists or the way they slammed him down. That's pretty aggressive, and I feel for him. I do, you know? It's too much, it's just too much.
Put that phone down.
The 25-year-old passenger was arrested and later sent for psychiatric testing. There was no evidence of any bomb. The remaining passengers on Flight 772 were eventually able to continue with their journey and arrived in Panama 12 hours late. But the incident would have a lasting impact on those who experienced it.
It was a traumatizing experience. I think it will always linger and it will always be there. It just doesn't go away. You know, you're exposed to something like the fighter jets, like the SWAT team. Well, you don't deal with that every day.
Amongst the airlines, competition for passengers has never been more fierce. To save costs, they operate with extreme efficiency, which means one small problem can create a major incident. In April 2017, passengers boarded United Express Flight 3411 in Chicago. This was one of the final flights of the day to Louisville, Kentucky. On a Sunday night at the end of a busy holiday weekend, the flight was fully booked.
What do you think about the boat?
For Joya Cummings, this was the final leg of a long journey home from Japan.
I was about 20 weeks or so pregnant at the time with twins. I was traveling with my husband and my 2.5-year-old son. We were very eager to get home at that point. We were just exhausted, and we've been traveling for a long time. We were ready to be back home and sleeping in our own beds.
With their seatbelts on, passengers were waiting to taxi to the runway when there was an unexpected announcement.
Flight attendant came on and said that we weren't leaving until she had volunteers to give up their seats because they needed to get crew onto the plane.
The airline needed to transport 4 employees to Louisville.
I hate to use the word hostage, but we weren't able to go anywhere until someone was to volunteer.
With no volunteers, the airline selected 4 passengers to remove from the plane. One of them was a man sitting directly in front of Joya. She began filming as a security officer approached.
I'm physician, have to work tomorrow 8 o'clock, so am I. Yes. You can talk to my partner, they want to remove me from now. Her name is Daniel.
The passenger would soon become known around the world. 69-year-old Dr. David Dow.
No, I'm not going. I am not going.
I think he was like anyone. We had been traveling for a day, we wanted to be home. I think anyone would have been irritated to be asked or forced to give up their seat.
Speaking to both his lawyer on the phone and the security guard, Dr. Dow explained the next available flight wouldn't get him home in time to treat his patients.
Until tomorrow. If they delay, but delay, fly late. Because I fly from LA, it takes a long flight. I spend almost 24 hours.
With the conversation at a stalemate, the airline agent called for extra security.
When she said she was calling security on, I didn't know what was going to happen next.
Police radio captured the airline's call for assistance to remove Dr. Dow and his wife.
I have a request for police to Charlie 3.
What's going on over there?
2 passengers are refusing to get off the aircraft.
Any information? Were they drinking? Were they doing anything like that?
No, it's something with an oversoul, an involunteer, or something like that.
Oversoul?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys overbooked the flight? This was a departing flight?
Yeah.
As more security officers headed towards the plane, another passenger kept filming.
Why they choose me?
Sorry, that's why I'm trying to have you go up front.
Give me the answer. Why they choose me?
That has nothing to do with it.
I didn't answer. I talk to my lawyer. My lawyer is to stay. That's fine. I pay for it. So I don't want to talk to you no more.
Sir, I'm telling you, it's going to get way worse.
And that's when I realized I needed to probably move out of the way. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was a little bit concerned because I had my son with us, and then I was pregnant, and so I really didn't want to be involved with any kind of altercation in such a small place. I took my son and handed him across the aisle to my husband, and then I moved back.
3 security officers were now standing next to Dr. Dow, and it was clear the time for conversation was over.
Come on.
You heard the yelling and then a loud crack.
Come on. There you go.
Oh, this is
Busted his lip.
Oh my God! Look at what you did to him! Oh my God!
In that moment, it was unbelievable.
Another passenger captured the moment Dr. Dow's head hit the seat arm. His nose was broken. He lost 2 teeth and suffered concussion.
No, this is wrong! Oh my God! Look at what you did to him! Oh my God!
Felt very disappointed that we're just passengers on a plane trying to get home to Louisville, and this guy is assaulted.
Oh my!
Yeah, the police grabbed the guy. He's an older doctor. He wouldn't get off the plane, so they forced him off.
At that point, everyone's just looking around at each other in disbelief, kind of like, did this really happen? And what's going to happen next?
Minutes later, Dr. Dow reappeared in a state of extreme distress.
I have to go home. I have to go home.
He seemed very disheveled and disoriented. His face was just covered in blood.
Kill me. I had to go home. Kill me. Just kill me. Just kill me. Just kill me.
With the plane still sitting on the tarmac, passengers began to share their videos on social media, and the incident was soon seen by millions. The world was outraged at Dr. Dow's treatment. Meanwhile, the passengers of United Express Flight 3411 disembarked.
And the flight attendant said, everyone please, get up and leave the plane. We're gonna clean the plane up, get him some medical attention.
40 minutes later, the flight finally departed, while Dr. Dow headed to hospital. 3 weeks later, public outrage about the incident had grown so much that United Airlines CEO was forced to face Congress.
On April 9th, we had a serious breach of public trust. I'd like to again apologize to Dr. Dow, to his family, to every person on that flight 3411, and of course to all our customers and employees worldwide.
The airline pledged it would never again use law enforcement to remove passengers. But the incident would be hard to forget, especially for those who witnessed it firsthand.
I was just really in disbelief. I was shocked, that almost disappointed at humanity, that someone could be treated that way over a $200 plane ticket. It was just a moment of pure disbelief.
At any given moment, there are around 1 million passengers in the air. Sometimes, an emergency in the cabin will lead the plane to land early. But when flights cross the most remote places on the planet, getting down on the ground is not always an option. In October 2015, passengers prepared for a 12-hour flight from Taiwan to LA. Amira Rajput was heading home after a 10-day holiday in Bali.
A part of me was looking forward to getting home, but then a part of me wished I could have stayed like another week. It was beautiful. But, time to go home.
While boarding the flight, a passenger caught Amira's attention.
I noticed something different. I just knew she was obese or very pregnant. I noticed she was by herself. There was no husband, there was no boyfriend, there was no sister, there was no family. There was nobody there but her. I thought that was very unusual.
The plane took off as planned, but 6 hours later, Amira heard a commotion and started filming.
Something was going on with some passenger, but nobody knew what it was. It was urgent. It was an urgent matter. They were asking for disinfectant. They were asking for scissors. They were asking for pretty much supplies.
The passenger that Amira had noticed earlier had gone into labor. Assisting her was a team of cabin attendants and a doctor who was traveling home to LA from her honeymoon.
There was about 2 or 3 stewardess that had airline blankets, and then the doctor was underneath all the blankets. It was kind of exciting. How can you give birth to a baby on an airplane?
For the passengers nearby, there was no avoiding the situation.
I smelled something very unusual. It was really gross. It smelled, it was very, very strong. I don't know why anybody else didn't like faint, because it was awful.
With only the standard first aid kits on board, medical supplies were limited.
You could hear her, you know, it's obvious a woman is she doesn't have an epidural. You know, we're not in a hospital, so she is making noise, obviously, pain. She's in pain, labor pain. So you could hear her basically moan and groan, and that's what we'd listened to for about a good hour.
The woman had gone into labor weeks before her due date, and the baby's life would be at risk if they didn't reach a hospital soon. But the plane was still over the North Pacific and hundreds of miles from land.
At some point, we just knew that it was going to happen up in the air.
On board China Airlines Flight 8, a woman was in labor at 33,000 feet over the Pacific Ocean. Worried for her health and that of the baby, the crew knew they needed to land as soon as possible. The captain abandoned the flight path towards Los Angeles and headed towards the nearest land, Alaska.
This lady is burning a new baby in the anchorage.
But 30 minutes before the plane touched down, a baby girl arrived safely in the middle of row 49.
Hear the baby crying, and then we all clapped. And I taped the doctor transferring the baby to the stewardess, and oh my God, she was so happy. She was crying. She's like, oh my God.
Cabin crew member is seated over passenger subject civil and the current select line. Thank you.
And then literally we landed shortly thereafter.
But when the plane touched down in Anchorage, the mood suddenly changed.
What shifted the atmosphere was having that law enforcement come on. And everything just got serious. It was no longer a celebration, it was, she's in trouble. We think that this woman had ulterior motives.
The USA grants citizenship to anyone born on its soil or in its airspace. The mother, a Taiwanese national, was now suspected of birth tourism, traveling to give birth and get US citizenship for her child. US authorities removed the woman and her newborn baby. The remaining passengers were stuck 4,000 miles from their destination.
Like the whole hazmat team came on, and they had to disinfect that whole area. Giving birth is messy, especially when you're not at a hospital. Stinky and messy.
After refueling, the plane finally took off again for LA.
We were all exhausted by the time we got home. We were all so tired.
3 days later, the new mother was deported. Her baby, now an American citizen, remained in the USA. When a passenger emergency happens, it's usually the flight attendants who have to deal with it, while the pilots remain locked in the cockpit.
We're keeping that door closed and we're doing our job, and that's to land that aircraft safely. And we have to trust that everyone in the back is doing their job as well. The flight attendants, that's what they're trained for.
And there is no end to the weird and wonderful challenges passengers provide for cabin crews. This woman attempted to bring a live peacock on a flight to Los Angeles.
I'm not kidding, this woman is wrangling her peacock into the airport.
But a far more common problem for airline staff are drunk passengers. And at 35,000 feet, they can put everyone on board through a frightening ordeal. In May 2017, student Ola Lilly and a friend were heading to Jamaica for a holiday.
We set off at about 5 a.m. and although I was very tired, I was so excited as well. Me and my friend just couldn't wait to get away.
A regular vlogger, Ola documented her journey on her phone.
We wanted to do vlogging for YouTube.
The flight to Montego Bay in Jamaica was due to take just under 10 hours, arriving late afternoon.
That was sort of my first long-haul flight. The whole atmosphere in the plane at that point seemed so chill and nice. They were giving out like drinks, wine or vodka, whatever you would ask for basically.
But 3 hours into the flight, Ola noticed something was wrong and pointed her phone across the aisle. Other passengers had crowded around a man who was getting upset.
And here the passenger just started shouting and we're wondering what was going on, why there's this passenger just shouting at the flight attendant and all the other passengers were looking at him thinking, like, what?
The passenger was angry that flight attendants wouldn't serve him any more alcohol.
And then this lady in red, she was the one who was traveling with the guy and she was getting really stressed out. It was really sad because I could see she was really distressed.
The row escalated as nearby passengers became involved.
I would say for about 2-3 hours, he was getting more angry and more aggressive, arguing quite badly, really loudly. But nothing was working really. He kept getting angrier. It just all felt quite scary and unpredictable as to what was going to happen next.
A member of the cabin crew tried to calm the situation down.
I was really worried for the flight attendant just because he was directly so close to him and at some point, honestly, it looked like he was about to punch him or, don't know, hurt him in one way or another. And that's when we knew that something really weird, really odd, and really scary was happening. What we're supposed to do if something happens, what if someone gets hurt. So yeah, I was really worried, especially because we still seem to have a long way to go to get to Montego Bay.
The plane was now flying at 37,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean, and still 5 hours from Jamaica.
I looked at the map, and instead of saying Montego Bay, where we were supposed to be landing, it said Hamilton, and Hamilton is in Bermuda.
Fearing for the safety of passengers and crew, the captain of the plane had diverted to the nearest land, the tiny island of Bermuda. No announcement was made to passengers about the diversion.
And obviously it was because they were worried about the men finding out they were landing, so then he would maybe even kick off anymore, and then maybe he could potentially be dangerous if he would find out.
7.5 hours after leaving London, the plane landed in Bermuda. The passengers were now over 1,000 miles from their destination and still stuck on the plane.
Just please remain seated. The toilets will not be coming in use at this time. Thank you.
Despite police boarding the plane, the disruptive passenger had no intention of leaving.
That's when more officers had to come. They basically had to physically drag him out from the plane. All the other passengers were so happy, and they started cheering, they started clapping. There was like this huge sense of relief. All the tension was sort of going away because, you know, the guy was finally off the plane. And then finally, after all that was sorted, we finally had another takeoff.
The disruptive passenger was held in Bermuda.
I've been treated like a ghost or a cow. It's very bad. Okay, we're coming. But never mind, that's how they treat people.
2 days later, he attended a local court and was fined $2,000.
You never know who you might travel with. Some people really just don't care about anyone else but themselves. I just hope the same situation would never happen again.
For many passengers, flying is just a way to get from A to B. But for small plane enthusiasts like pensioner John Wildey, flying as a passenger is a relaxing hobby.
I just love flying. It's a different world altogether. It's not like you're transporting with a load of other people.
John served as a clerk in the RAF for 25 years, but never learned to fly. In retirement, he'd regularly take pleasure flights with his pilot friends.
In fact, people ask me, do you want to go flying? Yeah, I'm there.
In October 2013, he was heading home from a trip to Skegness with a friend in a small Cessna Skyhawk.
You could see for miles, good visibility all over, and we just enjoyed it, chatting away generally as you do.
But as they approached their destination, the pilot suddenly fell ill.
And he suddenly started hyperventilating. And I thought, well, what the hell's happened? And I said, are you all right, mate? And he says, no, I feel a bit sick. He said, well, take over, John. I just feel a bit manky. And then he started again. He hyperventilated. And this time, he threw his head back and just stayed there. I tried to feel his forehead, but it was clammy and cold. I tried to find a pulse, but I couldn't find one. And I just thought, well, he's going to come to sometime. I'll keep going.
With the pilot unconscious and no one else on board to help, John was no longer a passenger. He was in sole control of the plane. He'd grasped the basics of flying straight.
I'd been shown, you can push the yoke forward and backwards, or raise it or lower it.
But with no training, landing the plane would be a near impossible task.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. Aircraft calling mayday, opposite radar. Roger, this is Golf Bravo Charlie Yankee Romeo. I'm a passenger. My pilot seems to be unconscious. I'm just in sight of Santos, my home base, but I'm not a pilot. Over. Golf Yankee Romeo, roger. Have you done any flying before? Negative.
It's like when you're on your own and suddenly you've got somebody to talk to. It's that sort of feeling. Yay, I've got someone to help me at last.
John's mayday call had triggered a major emergency on the ground. An RAF search and rescue helicopter was scrambled, and a flying instructor was now rushing to the control tower to try to guide John down. Air traffic control began to direct John to Humberside Airport, 25 miles away. With large runways and emergency services on standby, it offered the best chance of a safe landing.
I said, well, yeah, I could see the Humber Bridge, so I knew where I was going.
In the seat next to John, his pilot friend remained unconscious.
I did occasionally touch to see if he was going to move or anything, but nothing happened.
25 minutes after the mayday call, the RAF helicopter arrived on the scene, flown by pilot Becca Bethel.
As far as I can kind of work out, we were there for the crash, as awful as that sounds, because, we're a search and rescue aircraft. We're a flying ambulance, really. We had very little hope, I have to say. We thought we would be rescuing at the bottom.
I mean, their job there was really to pick up the pieces.
The helicopter began to help guide John towards the runway.
John, from the rescue helicopter ahead of you. If you're still happy to follow us, that'd be great. I'll pull into hell and back, sir. Great.
He was such a nice guy, and he was joking with us, and we were all saying, oh, he's so lovely, and it makes him a human as opposed to a casualty.
John was now nearing Humberside Airport. It was time for him to attempt to land. But there was a new problem.
By this time, it was getting quite dark. The ground was starting to disappear into the haze and the murk.
Night flying is a completely different skill from day flying. It's another step up. So you first of all learn to fly and get comfortable with the aircraft, and then you learn to night fly. So it just made it 100 times more difficult for him, at least.
I mean, I couldn't land a plane in the daylight, let alone the night time. And I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But I thought, well, I'm going to do it. I'll have to do it. If I want to go and see my grandchildren tonight, I'm going to have to land.
"1,500 feet in the air above Humberside, the pilot of a small Cessna plane was unconscious at the controls. His passenger, 77-year-old John Wildey, would have to land the plane alone. In the airport tower, a flying instructor had rushed in to try to guide John down.
Hello, John. How are you? Not exactly in the best of spirits. Over.
Just under an hour after taking control of the plane, John lined up with the runway.
First time, I think I was too high. So they said go round, so I went straight on, turned around, came back.
It was now completely dark. With only the runway lights to guide him, he circled round for another attempt.
this time I was too low. In fact, I was getting a bit cross with myself.
On John's third attempt at landing, he lost control of the plane.
I'd forgotten to put power on. And the next thing I knew, the left-hand wing, port wing, started dipping. And I saw this building, farmhouse and whatever, going around in circles in front of me. This is when I thought I'd panic. Somehow, some way, I managed to get around.
Just watch your height a minute, John. You're getting down to about 800 feet, but like up to about 1,000.
Yeah, sorry about that. Something went wrong and just suddenly dived to the left.
No, don't worry about it.
You say that, it's what you, mate.
By 7:26 p.m., John had been in sole control of the plane for an hour and 10 minutes and made 3 failed landing attempts.
You know, the longer he's under that amount of stress, kind of, you think somebody is going to crack eventually. So, yeah, the more attempts he has, I think the more nervous we were all getting, more worried for him we were all getting.
John lined up with the runway for the 4th time.
Is it this time? Have I got there? I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I was determined to do it.
No, come down a little bit. Take your power off and come down slightly. Keep coming down. Power off.
Got to do this, John. You've got to do this, mate. Keep going, keep going. You're on the right level. You must be. I saw the entrance lights to the runway itself, and I thought, well, this is it. I'm going down.
You're just desperate for him to get it on the ground. Just desperate, I think, by then.
Can you see the green lights?
Roger.
The helicopter's infrared camera zoomed in on John's plane as it moved towards the runway.
Power off, you're over the road. Throttle back, all the way back. Keep coming down. Keep down the white centre line, keep coming down. Now, flare.
I felt a bounce, and I thought, I'm down.
Keep braking.
As he landed, I think quite a heavy landing, so there were sparks coming out the runway.
Then, of course, I was, how do I stop it? Couldn't reach my feet on the pedals to put the brakes on. Pulled her and she went to the left, off the runway. Bit rough and bouncy, and I thought we could get in there, we're stopping, and then I saw this marker board for the runway coming up. I thought, oh, not after all this, I'm going to hit that. It stopped before I got there.
There you go, you made it. Well done.
Fantastic, John. The rescue helicopter's just coming in behind you. Well done.
Rescue services were next to John's plane within seconds.
And that's when it sort of all came to me what had happened.
Sadly, there was nothing paramedics could do to help John's friend.
There's no life signs at all, so obviously he'd been dead for a bit. At least I hadn't saved his life, but I got him back in one piece.
You did it. Proved everybody wrong. That's great.
Strange position to be in. As they say, any landing you walk away from is a good one. Mine was lucky.